Ben Micah hands over Public Enterprise Ministry.
You can lead them to greater heights.
PNG Media Fraternity loses a pioneer TV and radio personality and a new look for one of PNG's iconic structures.
This is National MTV News with Morobe Tulo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Welcome to National MTV News. Following the recent cabinet reshuffle, Ben Micah today handed over the portfolio of public enterprise and state investments to William Duma. Minister Micah was appointed as Minister for Petroleum and Energy, while Minister Duma was formerly the Minister for Transport and Infrastructure. Chairman of Kumul Consolidated Holdings, Paul Nerau, said the change of ministers is a win-win for PNG and for state-owned enterprises.
The handover ceremony took place at the Crown Plaza Hotel this morning before a large audience that included the heads of the 11 state-owned enterprises. Kumul Consolidated Holdings Chairman Paul Nerau celebrated the legacy of the outgoing minister, highlighting the relocation of the Port Moresby Wharf to Motokea to make way for the development of the CBD area to be known as Lakatoi City. He also mentioned the laid tidal basin, Ramutu Hydro Project, Port Moresby Sewage System Upgrade Project, and the launch of Kumul Consolidated Holdings.
Honorable Mr. Micah, on behalf of the board and staff of Kumul Consolidated Holdings, we salute you for your valued contribution to our great country. A person of your caliber who has seen the privatization legacy from the very early days.
Mr. Micah spoke about the journey of SOEs from their neglected state in 2012 to their improved standing in 2016. He urged the new minister to support the proposed policy which will allow SOEs and the state to be involved in business.
I believe that you can lead them to greater heights, into greater opportunities that I believe these state-owned enterprises can be able to take their place in the economy and in partnership with the private sector, achieve greater investment participation in business and in the economy of our country, because that is the real reason why we were able to set up the department.
Mr. Nerau said under Mr. Micah's watch, the cumulative asset value of all SOEs managed by Kumul Consolidated Holdings expanded from 5 billion kina in 2012 to now over 20 billion kina. Mr. Duma called Mr. Micah a reformer and assured him and all heads of SOEs of continuing with the good work of his predecessor.
I have only 1.5 years to do it, but you've left out a very important, a very strong structure, very good people, good boards. I don't intend to change the wheels. My view has always been, ladies and gentlemen, that in a country like Papua New Guinea, our state-owned enterprises are very, very important, and if we were to ignore them, we would do so at our peril.
Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
In the early hours of today, MTV and the PNG Media Fraternity lost one of its pioneer anchormen. The late Mark Sapers, aged 50, passed away at 1:10 this morning at the Port Moresby General Hospital after a long battle with diabetes. He is survived by his wife, 4 children and 1 grandchild.
The media fraternity is in mourning over the loss of another icon, most recalling the great mentor the late Mark Sapers was and the many tricks of the trade they learned from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, the contestants in the 1998 Red Cross Miss PNG Crest, please give him another big round of applause.
Diagnosed with diabetes in 2008, he fought his medical condition with devoted support from family and friends until his unfortunate passing this morning.
He was one of the elite few that actually took me under his wing. He was a great mentor. He's extremely inspirational to a lot of people, not just myself. Yes, he'll be dearly missed, but again, very grateful for what he's actually passed on to not just myself, but to many others as well.
Back in those years, I think it was between 1991 to 2002, we worked together here at MTV. He was a great guy to work with, to deal with. Even professionally, we had our ups and downs, but that was all ironed out, and we enjoyed our company during those years.
Mark was a cheerful guy, and he was also a hard-working guy, and I knew him as one of the best commentators that has ever lived in the media industry in Papua New Guinea. And we learned a lot from him, and definitely the media industry in Papua New Guinea is going to miss a great guy.
Mr. Sapers is a unique character who wowed many with his ability to naturally ad-lib during live shows without needing scripts.
Ready to perform her traditional dance? Please take another sip of orchi. Relax, have a quick chat. And she'll be on in a moment.
He is also well known for his lively commentating on local and international rugby league matches.
Moves to dummy half again, back in field for another hit up, and the Kundus taking on the bigger Queensland opponents for the time being, but it's still early days, and Queensland player down in back play nevertheless. Peters, short ball and picking up.
The late Mr. Sapers came from a family of media characters, the son of former iconic NBC broadcaster Austin Sapers and brother to radio and TV personality Ann Sapers. His legacy now lives on in his daughter Jaylee, who is an aspiring reporter with MTV Sports. A house cry will be held for a week at the family residence at 8 Mile Malolo Estate before he will be brought to rest at his home village, Vunatagia, in East New Britain Province. Family of the late Mr. Sapers has advised MTV News that a medical fundraiser organized prior to his passing will still continue as planned to assist the family with funeral and repatriation expenses. The fundraising will be held this week Saturday at the Lamana Golf Club from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Plenty happening. Talk about what's happening in sports. Yep. Made plenty happening this weekend, right around the country.
Vanessa Knight, National MTV News.
And a sad day indeed for the media industry in PNG. National ID boss Dixon Kiragi has come out in defense of the project following media claims that the project is a failure. He said over the past 6 months, the project has registered around 120,000 people, which is 1.3% of the population. Mr. Kiragi also said there are plans to change the registration process this year to cut back on costs.
The media report is the editorial of one of the papers yesterday, which highlighted figures that were allegedly used by the project so far.
To correct what has been published is that those were just our confidential learning notes which have been used, and they are not exactly, really what it's supposed to be.
However, Mr. Kiragi was not able to confirm what the actual figures were.
The government component and the Exim Bank loan component. Okay, and the Exim Bank loan is got contractual obligations, and then also how it's been governed as a different process. Likewise, with the government component, that's over a 4-year period, and we are into the last year of the project. Any statement to that effect, I'll rather get the Secretary can be able to make those statements.
As for the rate at which they are registering people, Kiragi said they are well below target.
Our system can process about 10,000 a day. 10,000. We are still trying to reach that figure. But hopefully once we have all the fixed offices established, and then everybody's responding, taking responsibility, then we will see that increase. At the moment, what we are receiving is from our fixed offices.
He said they will change their strategy of conducting registration this year. However, as yet, he was not able to confirm how much they will need to conduct registration.
The cost of registration of one person is what we need to really establish. In reality, that should determine the cost of registering a ward, population within a ward or within a province or within a district. At the moment, the budget that we have is specifically for fixed office establishments for awareness and publicity.
Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
A government-tendered project worth 9 million kina is yet to be handed over to the correctional services due to considerable defects in the project. Stage 1 of Busu Jail redevelopment project was supposed to be handed over 4 years ago. However, to date, the project has not been formally handed over to the PNG Correctional Services. Correctional Services Headquarters is blaming the contractor for the delay, saying there are defects which need fixing.
An tender for the entire Busu redevelopment commenced in 2007. Construction of Stage 1 commenced in February 2011 and was expected to be completed by October 2012. However, to date, the project has not been formally handed over. The 9.8 million kina Stage 1 includes a courthouse building, female dormitory, mass ablution block, and a heliport. The Correctional Services did a final inspection in April last year and concluded that there were outstanding works, concrete wall for the courthouse, and operations and maintenance manual to be produced before an occupancy certificate can be produced. Speaking to MTV News off camera, Managing Director of Simply Blue Collar, contractor responsible, said the company made a loss of 3 million kina over the last 5 years. Michael Nally said the project is 90% complete. However, his only problem is accessing the CS Commissioner's office and even the minister to have the project handed over. He blamed unforeseen weather patterns and the lack of effective communication between his company and the consultant for the delays. Meanwhile, the existing cell blocks at Busu Jail are overcrowded. And while the new courthouse is not in use, prisoners on remand are transported into Mount Hagen and Warbeck for the court cases. Michelle Amba, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
Police in Simbu Province are already getting ready for the 2017 National General Election Security Operations. Provincial Police Commander, Superintendent Albert Belly, said they are already in the process of collecting information regarding security concerns within the province. He is working to have an umbrella search warrant which police can use to conduct raids and searches if complaints are reaching the police regarding firearms buildup and smuggling of illegal drugs and alcohol.
So people are sound when they are out ready for the election. We'll do coroner search at any one time that we wishes to, or upon the request of the leaders in the people, and especially the ground commanders.
A senior police officer is on the run after he was alleged to have smuggled betel nut into Port Moresby using police uniforms. The officer attached to the dog unit fled the scene after he realized police investigators were tracking him. He escaped at Morata, leaving behind the owner of the betel nut bags he was smuggling.
Acting on a tip-off, police officers attached to the Internal Investigation Unit traveled up the Magi Highway last night to track down the suspect officer.
So we made a stakeout along Laloki, Sabusa and Gidasiama areas, Sogeri, Goldie Road. We conduct surveillances there.
This is the vehicle that was used to transport betel nut. Its vehicle registration is different from the plate number attached to it. Information received at 7 this morning indicated that the suspect officer was escorting it and was approaching the Erima roundabout.
That's when we sighted these vehicles that the informants have given us information.
Upon identifying the vehicle, the investigators followed it into Morata and the officer fled the scene, leaving behind 30 bags of betel nut and the owner.
The boys sighted the vehicles around Erima roundabout. So they chased the vehicles, the policeman, who is known to us. He escaped with the blue Land Cruiser, and two other guys who conveying the betel nut. That's when my boys, they chased them in, and the driver, he escaped with the key. He abandoned the key, except the crew was apprehended with the vehicle.
It is understood the suspect officer has been involved in smuggling betel nut into Port Moresby using police uniform on numerous occasions, and investigators were closely following him. At this stage, police are yet to identify the owner of the vehicle.
The vehicle, including the bags of betel nut, were transported to the National Capital District Depot, and the matter handed over to betel nut ban enforcers to further investigate. Takla Gunga, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. Among stories after the break, PNG not consistent with international trade obligations. Stay with us for that story and more. Welcome back to the news. Papua New Guinea has not been consistent in meeting its trade notification with member countries of the World Trade Organization since 1997. This means policy changes in government agencies that deal with international trade have not been consistently updated with the World Trade Organization. Trade, Commerce and Industry Department Secretary John Andreas attributed this to government agencies having difficulties understanding technical requirements. Quinton Alam reports.
Papua New Guinea has not been consistent with its requirement for trade policy notification to the World Trade Organization since 1997. It is a requirement that any domestic changes to laws and policies in respective government agencies that facilitate international trade, like customs and NACIA, must be notified to all partner countries through the World Trade Organization. But PNG has been inconsistent with notifying countries with its domestic policy changes. Trade, Commerce and Industry Department Secretary John Andreas says this is because line agencies and stakeholders have found it difficult to understand technical requirements for submitting notifications to the WTO Secretariat. To address this, two experts from the World Trade Organization are in the country conducting workshops with relevant agencies starting today.
And since 1997, PNG has not provided proper notification to the WTO. So this workshop brings together all the stakeholders, all the agencies which are responsible to understand the whole mechanics of providing notification to WTO.
The workshop will help participating agencies learn the notification requirements and also how to review notification made by other member countries.
So we are here to assist government officials in understanding the obligations, the way notification are dealt with in the WTO, were reviewed by the membership, and the implications the notification may have for transparency purposes, for good governance, which are the aims of the exercise.
Mr. Andreas says to improve inconsistency, his department plans to implement an NEC decision to establish a mission in Geneva to address PNG's interest in World Trade Organization.
So at the moment we don't have a Geneva-based representation at the ambassador level so that we can be able to attend to and monitor all WTO-related activities. So.
Quinten Alomp, National MTV News.
The United Nations has welcomed the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary's commitment for 2016 as the Year of Discipline. Police Commissioner Gary Baki made the declaration to enforce Prime Minister Peter O'Neill's intention to weed out ill-disciplined officers and create a good image for the constabulary.
Since the declaration at the beginning of this year, at least 10 police officers have been arrested and charged for misconduct, armed robbery, sexual touching and more. UN encourages that police control and command can be effective when a crime is prevented and police responding to human rights violation. The United Nations office in PNG states that this is vital to maintain public confidence in law enforcement agencies.
Because of so many offences, the Commission has given us vehicles to enforce 2016 as a year of discipline.
UN also stated that such directive provides a new opportunity for the progress in the rule of law, human rights and gender equality in PNG. In May this year, the government will present its report under the Universal Periodic Review on actions they have taken to improve the human rights situation. Meanwhile, Following the declaration, a number of initiatives will be introduced into the force to minimize police brutality cases and transform the constabulary into a trusted, community-oriented police service.
But as the police commissioner, I will maintain a zero tolerance on the level of police brutality. For 2016, I will redeclare this year as the year of discipline in the organization.
Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Morobe Governor Kelly Naru says annual cuts to the Morobe provincial government budget will hit local level governments hard this year. In 2015, LLG budgets were reduced from 500,000 kina to 100,000 kina. With more cuts in the 2016 budget, Naru says LLGs will be the worst hit.
What was obvious in yesterday's budget presentation in the Tutumang was the 28 million kina cut in the national government grant to the Morobe province. From 326 million kina in 2015, the grant, which makes up a significant portion of the provincial government budget, has been reduced to 298 million. And that's not all. Morobe's budget has seen most of its financial arrows pointing downward in 2016. Funding allocations for local level governments were slashed from 500,000 kina to 100,000 in 2015. The Provincial Support Improvement Program funds, or PSIP, which were used to prop up LLG budgets in 2015, have also been drastically cut, 45 million kina to just 10 million this year.
I'll cut him LLG SIP, at least also let him PSIP him stop so that people complement him LLG SIP. But what I'll work him, I'll cut him LLG SIP, na people will sabat him long PSIP stop, na now all two cut him PSIP.
But there are also several positives. Governor Naru noted that the warrants for funding for 2014 and 15, unpaid in those years, were released over the holiday period. The actual cash that will be received by the provincial government this year will be a little over 50 million kina, and that's been added to the Morobe provincial budget. Internal revenue expected to be generated in 2016 is 111 million kina. That's a slight reduction, but viewed as a more realistic projection. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Community leaders at some of Lae's communities are calling for a stop to backyard homebrew production within their communities. Lae District's Ahi and Lae Urban LLG community leaders have realized how much violence homebrew alcohol has caused homes and families. The district's Law and Order Committee are backing this move by imposing a 300 kina reward for reports of home brewing activities.
Youths have been called to stop producing and consuming homebrew in their homes by community leaders. It follows many reported cases of community violence caused by alcohol consumption. Some of those who attended once homebrew consumers have spoken out after realizing the disadvantages which homemade alcohol had brought to their families.
Say do you involved in this something activity? Please you try to see na, you try to go work money, now you try any good living below your law, popon in the country. So by looking light blue by Senis.
Lae's Law and Order Committee aims to reduce homebrew circulation by imposing a 300 kina cash reward for reports of anyone found producing and selling this homemade alcohol. A public awareness will be staged later in February to introduce this new community rule.
We play ready long. Evictim usat man emi work steam na homebrew. Now, that's why we look at emi cost long. The problem is a Lae city. Now, so now me encourage all young plan na want to mama papa osem so was picking it blow you work long cooking steam na when I'm me like talk savelo you osem you start long talk picking it blow you start lo senis now.
The district courts have been imposing tough penalties on offenders. Drug use and sale and the illegal production of alcohol carry a mandatory sentence of up to 9 months. But this has done little to ease the problem. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Lae.
Preventing instances of sea piracy has become a priority for the Morobe provincial government. 700,000 kina was allocated in this year's budget to address the law and order issues within the province. Some of this money will be used particularly for this purpose.
In 2015, there were numerous reports of boats being robbed in Morobe waters. Without a water policing unit, police are not able to prevent armed robberies that happen out at sea. Ronald Philip, who we spoke to 2 weeks ago, was a victim of sea piracy. The people who ambushed his boat between Finschhafen and Ley have not been caught.
Police must stop now. Police must walk down the street.
Steps are now being taken to combat sea piracy. The provincial government has already set up some temporary arrangements. During the Christmas and New Year period, they engage auxiliary police officers to patrol the coastline between Ley, Bukawa and Finschhafen. This arrangement is expected to continue and will also be extended from Salamaua to Morobe patrol post.
We will continue that program and then extend to Arpla Nambis area Bluimi or Semlo Salamoa go down to Morobe. Na continue bisla area Bluimi go down to Bukawa, Finschhafen, Wasu, Siasi, Kanosem.
Yesterday, the Tutuman announced an allocation of 700,000 kina for law and order. Some of that money will be used to fight sea piracy.
Our capability, mainly in logistics, mainly in boats, is lacking.
There's also been a concerted effort to establish a water policing unit in Morobe. Victims of sea piracy along the coastal waters of Morobe have made calls to the government to assist police in the province with a water policing unit. They want more police presence to minimize sea piracy incidences. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Ley.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3315 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3240 US, $0.4592 Australian dollars, $0.2949 euro, and 38.09 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, and copra closed the day higher. Crude oil and copper closed lower, while palm oil closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 282 points higher, the ASX closed 20 points higher, and the All On Risk closed 21 points higher. You're watching National EMTV News. Still to come, the new look Pineapple Building, also known as Marea House. We'll be back with the details after the break. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The iconic Pineapple Building in Port Moresby was reopened today. Officially known as Marea House, the building stood in neglect for over 20 years. The building was handed over to the national government by Oil Search, who were appointed project manager for refurbishing the building.
In 2013, the Marea House refurbishment project was awarded to Oil Search, and today the newly refurbished state-of-the-art Marea stands tall in the heart of Waigani. Oil Search General Manager Garia Aupi said at the official handover that the refurbishment project was made possible under the National Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme. He said that it signified the importance of public-private partnership and the government working together to develop the country.
This is an occasion of great significance in many ways. It is significant because of the cooperation of many organizations and individuals who have made the refurbishment possible. The national government, local authorities, numerous contractors, and for Oil Search, the very first major project to manage in the nation's capital.
The refurbished Marea House comprises of 12 levels, 9 of which are office areas made up of open-plan modern offices, executive office, reception areas, and meeting and conference rooms. The building also has over 200 car parking lots and backup system for power and water supply. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill thanked Oil Search for a job well done on the once eyesore for the nation's capital.
Today is not the day for us to blame people. It is the day for us to celebrate the re-emergence of an iconic building for our nation and where our seat of government has been for many, many years.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill also announced that the Marea House will also be renamed and that he himself will propose this to the NAC in the upcoming days to rename the building.
More fitting to rename the building to those who make the most contribution to our nation's building. Very distinguished service to our country. Very honorable service to our country. And it is with this, gives me great honor today to rename Maria House Se Manasupe House.
The Maria House, also known as the Pineapple Building, was abandoned for 28 years before receiving its final renovation. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National MTV News.
The Autonomous Bougainville Government's Chief Secretary will chair the steering committee for the upcoming 2017 national elections. The Chief Secretary, under his leadership, will plan the elections in advance that will involve public civil servants serving in the autonomous region of Bougainville.
Bougainville's participation in the 2017 national elections has been assured with the recent signing of a memorandum of understanding between the PNG Electoral Commission and the Autonomous Bougainville government. This signing was facilitated by the PNG Chief Electoral Commissioner Patiles Gamato and Bougainville's Acting Chief Secretary Paul Kebori. Mr. Gamato said the instrument strengthens relations to the transfer of electoral powers from Waigani. It also enables the Bougainville Public Service, statutory bodies and stakeholders to contribute to election conduct. Gamato explained that the two key committees in need to be fully established. The two are the Election Steering Committee and the Awareness Committee. He then thanked the ABG for signing the MOU before adding that PNGEC will continue to work with ABG in preparing for the 2017 national elections. Fibet Hakelitz, National MTV News.
Spaces at the University of Papua New Guinea are all full for the 2016 academic year. UPNG administration confirmed that all its various schools have reached their quota and will not accept any more students. Priority was given to students who chose UPNG as their first preference for studies this year.
The University of Papua New Guinea, like other higher learning institutions, is dealing with an influx of students this year. However, there are limited spaces to cater for this increase. Over 1,000 new intakes are expected to enroll for studies come the 2016 academic year, which begins on the 23rd of February. UPNG administration says the quota in all schools is full. Funding in the recurrent budget has also resulted in a 5 million kina cut in the university's budget. Also, the facilities and teaching staff does not allow for additional students. However, UPNG administration is confident the academic year will begin smoothly with the orientation of new students on the 9th to 12th February, while registration for continuing students will be on the 15th of February. The university has also advised parents and students that late registration and guarantee letters for school fees will not be tolerated. All payments must be made in full to avoid any inconvenience. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We'll have some news on rugby union, weightlifting and rugby league. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Possibly one of the biggest Sevens tournament in the country, the Black Orchid Sevens, has been set for the 11th to the 12th of June this year. With sponsorship from Pacific Industries and support from Union President Peter Tiamalili Jr., the tournament will reward over 36 teams with 100,000 kina in cash prizes.
Orchids have engaged a mass following throughout the country, not because of their uniquely featured jerseys, which have become common and highly favourable amongst rugby fans, but due to their efforts in using rugby to unite and restore peace throughout the Bougainville community. This year, the region will be hosting its 11th annual Black Orchid Rugby Tournament from the 11th to the 12th of June, and for the first time since its establishment, the game will be played in Arawa town. President of AROB Rugby Union, Peter Chamalili Jr., has said the hosting of the tournament has become an iconic sporting event, complementing the 2001 peace agreement following years of fighting and dispute. As it has been doing for the past decade, the tournament and Black Orchids program in June will be used to design the mindset of youth and children of Bougainville. With respect to the desired outcomes of the AROB Rugby Union, they have also successfully expanded their love of the game. Now, this year's tournament will see 20 men's teams and 16 women's teams partake from within the region and around the country, with the hope of including an invitational team from abroad. Lorraine Genia, National MTV Sports.
Papua New Guinea's weightlifters are preparing for the Weightlifting Oceania Championships and the Olympic qualifiers later this year. PNG weightlifters are training in New Caledonia under the watchful eyes of coach Paul Koffa.
We will be sending weightlifters to attend the Oceania Championships in Fiji to qualify only one male and female to attend the 2016 Rio Olympics. In order to qualify, PNG male weightlifters have to finish in the top 5, while the women must finish in the top 4. This will be a tough task ahead of the lifters, as they will be competing against rivals Australia. Samoa will also be participating in the qualifiers and will be a threat to Papua New Guinea. With the success of Dick Atoa, Stephen Curry and other lifters during the 2015 Pacific Games, there is hope for PNG to qualify for Rio. PNG will also be sending a junior team to compete in the Oceania Junior Championships. Elijah Lavet, National MTV Sports.
Arguably the most inconsistent 5/8 for the Australian Wallabies, Quade Cooper has shifted formats of rugby and has signed with the Qantas Australian men's 7 side with the hope of securing a run-on spot in the 2016 Rio Olympics. Cooper, who rarely had game time in the 2015 Rugby World Cup and has been playing for European rugby club Toulon in France, will be released to play in the Sydney, Paris and London legs of the HSBC Sevens World Series leading up to Rio.
Rugby Union has confirmed that Quade Cooper will be released by French club Toulon to play in the HSBC World 7 Series in the lead-up to the Olympics. Cooper, who has 58 test caps under his belt, has been given a clause in his contract with Toulon which allows him time off to attend to national duties in Rio. Aussie Sevens coach Andy Friends said he was extremely delighted to have Quade join the Sevens program, as he would add an extra dimension to the squad. But among the many debutants for the year, Aussie's Super Rugby honey badger Nick Cummins has also signed with the Sevens program.
You know, I suppose I've done Sevens before, so I believe I can assist the team, and then at the same time, you know, having an experience like that, you can tell your grandkids when they don't care.
The World Rugby 7 Series kicks off this weekend from the 29th to the 30th of January in Wellington, while the inaugural Sydney Sevens is on the 6th of February, followed by the USA, Canada and infamous Hong Kong leg. Lorraine Genia, National MTV Sports.
Don't go away, True Guys Sports continues after the break.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome back to True Kai Sports. The 2016 Coca-Cola Ipatas Cup southern leg of the tournament is set to begin this weekend with 16 teams confirmed to take part. The Ipatas Cup is the biggest off-season rugby league competition in the country and attracts raw talent from all around PNG.
Teams competing in the Ipatas Cup southern leg met with tournament organisers where they received the draws for this weekend's competition. The Murray Barracks Oval has been confirmed as the host venue.
Venue will be at Murray Barracks as planned. We have 16 teams vying for the southern region, southern leg. Some of the teams are here. Half of the teams are here for the session. So, well, I'm looking at a great game this weekend.
The tournament will be played this weekend, and the teams that qualify for the finals will play off next weekend for a chance to be crowned champions.
This Saturday, Sunday this weekend, and then the next weekend we have the playoffs at Murray Barracks. So it's going to be a pool tournament, 4 pools. So they'll have time to play a game each on the weekend, so they'll have enough time to rest and then play it off. Unlike a
previous games.
Among the teams in the tournament are the youths from Port Moresby Northeast, who have received support from Carl O'Cook, who sponsored 8 teams into the competition. Tournament organizers have appealed to participants to play in the true nature of sport and abide by the competition's governing rules.
All the teams that are taking part will be responsible of their own games, the clubs itself, so the game is run as per schedule.
The winner of the Coca-Cola Ipatas Cup Southern Leg will then travel to Leyte to compete against the other regional winners. Dion Kombang, National MTV Sports.
To tennis now, and women's world #1 Serena Williams secured a spot in the semi-finals of the Australian Open after beating Maria Sharapova. Sharapova put up a stiff challenge in the first set, but it wasn't enough as Williams came back in the second to beat the former #1.
Williams has qualified for the finals on 6 previous occasions and has gone on to win every time. Williams said Sharapova brings out the best in her every time they meet on the court.
I mean, she's an incredibly intense, focused player who, was #1 and has won so many Grand Slams for a reason. So, when you're playing someone like that, that's so great. You have to come out with, a lot of fire and intensity.
She now faces Agnieszka Radwanska in the semi-finals. Williams has played Radwanska 8 times and has beaten her in all those matches. Radwanska advanced to her second Australian semi-final after beating Spain's Carla Suarez Navarro. The 26-year-old jumped to a 4-0 lead with 2 breaks of serve in the first set, and while Carla finally managed to hold in the 5th game, Radwanska broke again on her second set point to seal it in 28 minutes. Elijah Lavet, National MTV Sports.
And that's where we end True Kai Sports for today. We will bring you the weather details for the next 24 hours after the break.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
And here's a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, a shower or 2, mostly fine in Daru, Kerma and Alotau, and brief showers in Popondetta. To the Momase region, Ley and Wau, thundery showers or rain. Rain and thunderstorms expected in Madang and some showers in Wewak and Vadimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, you can expect some showers, the same in Kavieng, thundery showers in Kokopo and Rabaul, and thundery showers and rain in Kimbe and Boka. And finally, in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, showers and rain with fog for Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabek. And before we go, recapping our top stories for tonight. Ben Micah hands over the Public Enterprise Ministry. Media fraternity loses one of its pioneer TV and radio personalities. And a new look for one of PNG's iconic structures. And that has been the news, sports and weather for today, Wednesday, the 27th of January 2016. On behalf of the entire MTV News team, I'm Morobe. Pleasant viewing. Good night.